was the OJs with Backstabbers on 107 Meridian FM. You're listening to me, Emily Bennett. I'm with you until 5 o'clock, and I am joined now by Charlie from CAE Lifestyle. Hello, Charlie.
Hello.
So, you and I met a few weeks ago, really, properly met, because we went to the same school, didn't know each other, no classes or anything at the same time, but you're very passionate about, everything you do with CAE Lifestyle, and that passion was just like, I've got to get her on the radio. So, can you tell us a bit about the business first? So what is it?
Okay, so it's basically a low impact
living kind of business, showing how as a race we are ruining our planet. I think everyone knows that, there is no getting away from that, but actually how even though we are doing that, it's not the end of the world like people are making it out to be. It's not all sad and horrible. It can be fixed. We just need everyone to do small little changes, and I really want to show what those changes can be and how they can be easy, and how it doesn't have to be expensive, it doesn't have to be difficult. You don't have to be one of those Instagram accounts that are all perfect and lovely all the time. There are other ways of doing it, and I just kind of want to show how everyone can make a difference, really.
Yeah, that's amazing, because as you say, Instagram accounts, you see this sort of perfect lifestyle. It's a little window into the perfect lifestyle, and they've got all of these expensive teas that are, zero waste or whatever, and just like, that's great for them, but I can't afford that.
It's not the real world, really.
No, it's really not. And we'll go on to that in a minute, but how did it all start? What was the driving force for you behind the business?
Okay, there was a lot of things that it kind of happened, and it was building up for a while. Ultimately, what started it was there was a health scare in my family, and we didn't really know what to do. We did everything that the doctor said to do, and nothing was really working. So we decided to go to a friend who was actually a nutritionist, and she pushed us more down the organic and vegetarian vegan route, and as we all know, it's not very easy to do that, and you kind of need the whole family on board. So we kind of took a few things on board but didn't really do too much of it. But at the same time, I did a A-level in geography, and everything showing up in that, all the physical geography, it was all about plastic. And my favourite thing, nurdles, is a word I'll never forget. Which
what does that mean?
It's the little plastics you get in like face washes.
Okay.
The really, really small bits of plastic, like exfoliate your skin.
Yeah, the little beads.
Yeah, and I'll never forget that word. And they, started showing up on beaches. So that initially interested me. And I've just always grown up loving nature and watching Sir David Attenborough's programmes and seeing all of that. And that kind of, it all happened at once. And when I started looking into that, that's when we decided that, okay, this vegan, vegetarian lifestyle was actually also quite good with plastic waste. So we decided just to go for it. And that's kind of how I got into it, really.
Wow. So when did you decide that it was something that you wanted to do something for yourself?
When I realised, maybe it sounds quite selfish, but when I realised actually the impacts it does have on your health, and something so simple as like the chemicals in plastic that people don't really know about, they don't really listen to that kind of thing, because you think, oh, it's not really going to be that bad, really. And that's when I kind of realised, oh, okay, so it's not good for me. And actually realised how bad it is. If it's bad for me, it's bad for everyone. It's bad for the whole environment, for all the wildlife, for everyone. And that's kind of when I realised that I wanted to change my outlook on what I buy, really.
Yeah. Wow. Where do you think you get this passion for the environment from?
I tell myself that I woke up one morning and everything kind of clicked, and I decided I want to be vegan, I want to save the animals, I want to save the earth. But when I think back, it has really been something I've always loved. I've always loved going outside. I did girl guiding, so I did all that kind of thing. I've always done volunteering. Just kind of seeing and learning about it really is when I kind of realised that, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. So it is sort of something that you've always
Yes.
felt passionate about. And
Definitely.
as you say, you want to think that you just woke up.
I want to think I just woke up, but I think it has been on the cards for a while, and I was kind of interested in other things, and then I was like, no, I keep coming back to this, and I am actually very passionate, so I have to do something. I was destined to do it.
So what sort of an impact do you hope to have on the world?
Positive, ultimately. I would love for, if something that I tell someone or something I've written on a blog, someone to read it and go, oh yeah, okay, I could do that. That's simple.
Yeah.
And for someone else to make that change and realise it's not actually that difficult. And they tell someone else and they tell someone, and just, small things, just so people realise that it's not that difficult. And then if I know that I've helped, or I hope that I've helped impact, because it will impact the world, it will be global. Just one person's change. If you switch one day, you don't have beef for dinner, okay, it's a small change, but that ultimately affects the whole world. And just it's just little things that can help the world become less damaged, hopefully.
So do you really think that like one person changing something, because you see in the news it's all these big companies, and you sort of start thinking, well, how's that gonna, like, if I make a change, how's that gonna make any difference? Is it going to make a difference?
Well, I've had that a lot with my family in particular. So I've got some members of my family that aren't anti kind of vegan, no plastic, but it's not really, they're not passionate about it. It's not what they want to do, but they appreciate, they support me, But when you, for example, when you look at, there are some brands that are meat brands, and they obviously sell predominantly meat, but due to veganuary, everyone did that, and it was massive, and it was the biggest it's been, a lot of awareness, a lot of celebrities doing it. And those brands have now continued, because the demand's been there, they've now continued doing vegan products, or there are some brands that have now cut back on their plastics that they're using, because, the support's been there from the consumers. So I do greatly believe that we as consumers actually do have a lot more power than we think we do. Yeah. Because if it costs other, like the big brands, money, and if no one's going to buy the products, then they're not going to create them. So I think we do have more power than we think that we do.
Yes.
You're just saying you're just one person. How me with not buying my burger for dinner and, having mushrooms instead, what difference that going to make? Well, actually, if 100 people said that could actually, if that impacted another business, then, it makes them reevaluate. And I think we do individually have the power to make a lot of difference. Yeah,
definitely. No, I think hearing it like that, it does sort of change things a little bit. You do think, hold on a second.
It's just a different way of thinking, isn't it? It just gets you,
Yeah, no, I think, I don't know, people seem to be so disheartened by the fact that it is the big businesses.
Yes.
That you sort of think, well, there's nothing I can do about that. That's their fault. They need to sort it out. And you forget that actually you have a little bit of the power yourself.
Yeah, and if you want to make the difference, you have to be the driving force behind it, and you've got to try and do it yourself.
I like that.
That's what I believe.
I like that phrase. I might just clip that and keep replaying it to myself every day. Right, we're going to keep talking about this in a second, but first I'm going to play a song. I really like this one. I think my little sister's going to enjoy this one too. This is The Darkness with I Believe in a Thing Called Love. Or I would play it if it wanted to work, but it doesn't. So instead, we're going to keep talking, Charlie.
Perfect.
So, can you tell us, you wrote a book.
I did.
An ebook.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about this ebook, Living in a Plastic World?
Yes. So it's an ebook. It's all things plastic, which I know might sound quite boring, but it was very interesting actually reading about it, and friends and family that have read it have agreed actually it's a whole different way of looking at plastic. It shows the journey of plastic, so its creation to being a saviour, through its abuse and its problems, into the misconceptions and alternatives, so where we are now. Within the book, it goes right back to the start of why plastic was produced, what was good about it. You know, it was seen as a savior because a lot of products that it used to be used for were made from kind of, you know, tusks, and there was shells from turtles, so it was seen as like the turtle savior, and obviously that's great. And it was ultimately produced to save the wildlife, which is slightly ironic now, as we now know, as it's doing the complete opposite.
Yes.
But going back to the very start, it makes you think about it in a different way. So when you realise that it was produced to help animals, you realise that, okay, so it wasn't produced just for business. Then it turned into a business opportunity in the 60s. And that's when it, you know, that's when it started to become business opportunities. Loads of people wanted to put their hand in it to make their own products. It was obviously the war really kicked it off. And we go into where actually it was abused and where it went wrong. With the horrible thing that I found is not an effect of plastic itself, but it was in the 60s that actually the effects of plastic was realised. So, you know, how chemicals affect humans, and actually the first plastic debris was found in the oceans in the 60s, and nothing was really done.
Gosh.
And that just makes you think they did start, you know, they tried to do recycling. And my argument, you know, with recycling now, if we've known about this and we've been trying to recycle since the 60s, and let's be honest, it hasn't really worked, what's the difference now? And it makes you put it all into perspective. You know, it's not something that's just cropped up in the last 10 years like we're led to believe. It's been around since the 60s. And that's why, you know, at the end of the book we go on to the misconceptions, you know, why recycling isn't really the answer, you know, reusing stuff, reducing stuff, you know, all that, and how we can make an impact, what alternatives we can use. And you know, they are out there, it's just you've got to find them, and hopefully we can make them more mainstream. But that's kind of what the book's about.
So what inspired the book?
Ultimately, I wanted to know more about it. For when we transitioned into the vegetarian first. We were vegetarian, then we became vegan lifestyle. We actually realised we were using a lot less plastic because we were buying more fresh fruit and veg, and it was more in tins, like tins of chickpeas and tomatoes. And we realised that actually that makes quite a big difference. And we looking more into it, and kind of looking again into like the chemicals of plastic and how that affects us. And I didn't aim actually on, you know, producing a book. It was just more for me to learn about it, to back up, you know, if someone goes to me, oh, well, why are you doing that? Just so I could go, well, this is why, because I think it's right. And I found so much information, months and months of research. It was like you went into a spiral.
Yes.
Finding so much information. And it was trying to find the truth, which was another big thing that, you know, I found very, very, I became angered by it, really.
Yeah, I think you do once you look far enough, and it's
just horrible.
Yeah,
it's like it's all hidden.
Personal as well. Yeah.
That I know I'm being lied to. I feel betrayed by people that.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's horrible. And then, you know, because I found all this, and I found what I believe to be the truth, and I'm learning. There's so much out there. I decided that not a lot of people were fortunate enough to have the time I spent, because it really was solid months just doing research.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't have to do that. We should have the truth. We should be able, if we should have it, we should know what the truth is of the implications of our actions, what we buy. So I decided to put it all into a book, and here we are now, really.
Yeah, that is amazing, because you think that should be readily available to me, that information. I shouldn't have to go searching for it.
No. It
should just be there. And the fact that it isn't, but you've put it into something that means that it is readily available for us. It's very
hopefully
important.
It's helpful.
Yes.
To people.
Well, if people want to buy the book,
yes.
How much is it? Where is it?
It's £7.50, which I personally think is, you know, it's all right. It's a comprehensive overview of plastic. if you go onto our website, which is caelifestyle.com, then there's a link on there and it takes you all through, and it's all on there really, and you just download it onto your phone or wherever you want to, print it out, and do what you want with it. And there you go.
Sounds reasonable.
Thank you.
So if you want to find the book, then go to the website, caelifestyle.com, and purchase that. We'll be back talking a little bit more after. Which song am I going to play? I think I'm going to do a bit of Ben Howard with an old favourite of mine, Keep Your Head Up. That was a bit of Ben Howard with Keep Your Head Up. I absolutely love that one, especially I think for this interview. I don't know, it just feels very like outdoorsy to me. It just makes me think of being outside when I hear that song. Particularly makes me think of this time of year. I don't know why, it just does.
And it's been quite a nice day today, which is...
It has.
It's very nice. It's quite unusual, but it's quite nice.
It always makes me feel better when the weather's nice and it's crisp but sunny.
Yes.
That's my favourite type of weather.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So I am still joined by Charlie from CAE Lifestyle. Now, Charlie, your business is sort of life impact and environmental impact and all that sort of thing. So can you just give us a brief reminder of the sort of thing that you aim to do?
Yep. So I aim to show people that even though we're told all the time that, you know, it's all dreary with the earth and there's no going back and it's, you know, it's all bad news, that actually it's not. And as individuals, we can make big or small changes, whatever we can, and they do have an impact on the earth and the environment we live in, and that it isn't all doom and gloom and there is some light. It's not all bad.
I must admit, I much prefer hearing about the environment from someone like you, where you're saying, no, if you switch from your beef to, I don't know, a soy option, then, you know, you're still making a difference. Whereas everyone else is like, if you don't change your entire lifestyle right this second, we're all gonna die.
I know, it's not. And that's not, you know, you want people to do it. You just, obviously, if I could, I would love everyone to do, you know, to go the whole hog, you know, to do everything. But, you know, it's just not feasible for some people. And there are small things that we can all do. And it doesn't have to be as bad and horrendous as we're always being told. So...
well, I noticed from your website, because I did a little bit of research before the interview. So I noticed from your website that you say there is no right or wrong way of doing things, and it isn't always easy to make these changes. So can you tell me a little bit about the process of making changes that are going to better the environment? So what have you found difficult about it?
Okay, well, there is, you know, there's no, what I think is very important for people to remember is there's no rule book. You know, there's no right or wrong way to do stuff. You don't have to. If it's not something that bothers you or you're really not interested, then, you know, no one's forcing you to do anything. You don't have to do anything. It's your choice. And that's ultimately what I think people need to remember. It's up to you if you want to make a change. But it isn't easy. I'm not gonna lie and say that it's really simple. You just go out and buy this instead. It isn't that. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. That being said, it's not necessarily difficult either.
Yes.
It can be as easy as going out and buying, you know, a meat alternative. It can be something as simple as that. It can be you buy loose fruit and veg if you'd like to, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be difficult. What we, I'll say as a family, what we have been not struggling with per se, but, you know, it is the plastic. A lot of stuff comes in plastic, and that is where there is a lot of media attention. You know, that's a lot of people are aiming their fight towards. If you cook, what we found, if you cook like from scratch, you know, and you buy products from a zero waste shop, if you're fortunate enough to live near one, it can be easier. We found, for example, my dad's out on the road a lot. So for him, what he struggles with is it's the timing and the organisation of trying to plan what you're going to eat or, you know, what you're going to use that day so that you don't have to buy something when you're on the road, because obviously that's when you get the plastic's introduced, and that's when that's when you find the problems, and that's what we've been finding difficult. It's just the planning that you have to get through.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't really thought of it that way, but if when I do think about it, I tend to work on a Saturday. I don't tend to have planned what I'm going to eat at lunch before then, so I tend to just go down to whatever supermarket's nearby, go to a fast food shop. They don't tend to have very many, I don't know, meat-free alternatives, plastic-free alternatives. In fact, anything I wanted to buy would be very much plastic or whatever. So yeah, one of the things that I've been wondering, especially as someone who only works part-time and doesn't have a whole lot of money, is how do you manage to be environmentally conscious while keeping the costs down? I mean, is it even possible?
Okay, this is where there's a lot of controversy. So some people say vegan is really expensive because if you go into a supermarket, some things can be quite expensive, or if you go into a restaurant, they'll tend, because some people say it's a fad. I choose to believe hopefully it's not.
Yes.
But no matter what it is, they're going to charge more because it's something new and a lot of people are doing it. Plastic free, I think as well, it's kind of the same. If you go into a supermarket and buy something plastic free, if you can, that's always more expensive. If you choose the zero waste shop, even if you buy in bulk, it works out cheaper than buying from a supermarket, but it can still be quite expensive. But what I have found is sometimes buying in bulk does keep costs down. But also if you go into a supermarket and if you don't buy kind of the processed food, so my family love these like vegan chicken fillets, and they're lovely, they're really nice, but because that's processed, it's more expensive.
Yes. And
it comes in plastic, but if you ignore that, it's more expensive because it's like a processed food. Whereas if you went and you bought a tin of chickpeas, it's a remarkably amount cheaper.
Okay.
So just, it's kind of cooking from scratch is cheaper. Or, I mean, again, this is quite controversial, and I will say it, I don't wash my hair.
Okay.
And I haven't washed my hair now, for maybe 2.5, 3 years.
Wow.
Which a lot of people go, oh, why do you not do that? But I've found that I don't have to go out and buy shampoo all the time, and I'm quite fortunate with my hair. My hair's fine. I don't need to. I do know some members of my family, they use like shampoo bars, which are cheaper than buying it in a plastic bottle, and it comes in a cardboard box, and you don't have the plastic packaging, and that also works out cheaper. So there are some
sort of cutting back on other things.
Exactly.
Can mean that it's cheap, or not cheaper, but like easier to afford.
Yes.
The alternatives. Yeah. Okay. I can kind of see that. I can see that now, because before I was thinking, but everything's so much more expensive when it's vegetarian.
Yeah.
All the alternatives are seen a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
I can't afford that. So how do you think we can encourage other people to, make big changes to their lifestyle? What would you say about that?
I think if you do want to make a change, or if we're trying to encourage other people to make changes, it needs to not be seen as such like a drastic thing to do. So I know a lot of the time if people say they're going vegan or even just going vegetarian, it's made into a big deal. And, if you go plastic free, oh, well, that's so unusual,
Yeah.
I think we need to stop doing that. I think we need to just accept the fact that people want to make a change. They want to try and help our environment that we live in. Yes. So they're doing it for themselves, but it also affects us. We get the benefits as well. So I don't think we should be not putting them off doing it necessarily, but maybe just stop making such a big deal, because it might make people second guess themselves and think, oh, well, it's not the thing to do, maybe I shouldn't do it. I think we just need to be, as a society, I think we just need to be like, okay, this is what people are doing, cool. And just, we should be like, yeah, well, maybe say, well done for making the change, because it isn't easy and we all know it's not easy. I think we need to stop not alienating people, but we need to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, we're all going to get the rewards from this. We're all going to get the benefits. So you know what? They're doing it great. I can't do it myself. Doesn't mean I need to, you know, try and make them feel like they shouldn't have done it, and just step back and be like, okay, that's what they're doing, fine, and just leave them to it, really.
Yeah, we need to normalise it, make it not seem like a massive deal.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that one, because I don't know, I remember when one of my friends, I think it was back in year 7, she decided she was going to go from vegetarian, which she'd always been her entire life, to going the full hog and going vegan. And we were all like, why are you doing that? Why would you want to not eat all of these, you know, dairy products and all that sort of thing? And we made it such a big deal. And she did actually, you know, continue to be a vegan, but it could have very easily made her go, oh, okay, I won't
do it then, yeah.
If you're going to make such a big deal out of it, then I won't. I definitely agree with you on that one. I think there's a lot more we can talk about. I'm going to attempt to play The Darkness again, and if we can't, then I'll play something else. But no, you still don't want to play The Darkness. They've gone away. So instead, I'm going to play Frank Turner and a little bit... Frank Turner and Recovery. Frank Turner with Recovery on 107 Meridian FM. Again, that one just reminds me of this time of year. I think I must have listened to it a lot in sort of March, April time, and it's just become synonymous for me with this sort of season, this sort of weather, but I do love that one. You're listening to Emily Bennett. I'm with you until 5 o'clock, and I'm joined today by Charlie from CAE Lifestyle. So, Charlie, this is life impact, environmental impact, all that lovely stuff.
Yes.
And you're hoping to save the environment.
That is the hope, yes. That's the aim.
In a nutshell, you want to save the environment.
Yes.
So, what are some small changes that we can make today that can help the cause?
They're very, very simple changes. My favourite that we've been doing for ages, and that what I tell people, something very simple like buying loose fruit and veg from your supermarket, and putting it in your own bags you've got at home, so it's plastic free. It, unfortunately, which is very annoying, it can work out more expensive, but hopefully that won't be the case for too much longer.
Yes.
But that, obviously at the moment, that is something that we are faced with, but until, it's like the chicken and egg thing really, you know, until people start buying more of it, it's not really going to get any cheaper.
Yeah.
But hopefully, you know, in the future it will start to come down. Something as simple even as switching your meat day, the day that you have spag bowl and you use beef mince, changing it to mushroom mince, which is one of our favourites, because it's got the same texture as meat when you cook it, so you can almost trick yourself into you thinking that you're eating meat if, you know, you really don't want to give up meat.
Yes.
Because we all know cows are bad for the environment. They, you know, produce they can produce up to 120 kilograms of methane a year, which that's quite a lot, and it's 23 times worse for the environment than carbon dioxide, which,
oh my goodness,
I don't think is really talked about too much, because it's all kind of carbon at the moment, which is, you know, great, because that is an issue.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's bad. And out of all of the human made methane that's emitted, the cows take up 37% of that, and that's, you know, that's quite a lot just for one animal. So something as simple as that, you know, or even, you know, changing milk, you know, if you decide to have oat milk in your coffee for a week, you know, that's, if you did that, you know, every week, once a month, then there's less demand for milk, less cows. You know, it's just, it's the bigger picture. You may not feel like you're doing much, but if, you know, 1,000 people did the same thing, you know, that could drastically cut down on emissions. Which, you know, it's just thinking how it affects the bigger picture, not just yourself half the time. But, you know, there's anything, just no small changes, they'll all have an impact somewhere. Even if you can't see it, it will make a change somewhere in the system. Yeah.
Well, one thing I find quite interesting is, you know, as you say about milk and going for milk alternatives, there are still more and less damaging milk alternatives, aren't there? Because, like, almond milk is one that a lot of people enjoy. But it's still more damaging than oat milk or, I don't know, I can't remember what the other ones are. But,
you know, poor almonds, they get such a bad rep. I love almonds, but they're lovely. But if you know, if you go full on into it, it's the worst one to have. They use the most water, because then there's the other issue with the water. You know, it's everything. It all mixes into one. The water with almonds, it's awful. The best all round for emissions, water, land use is actually oat milk. Oat milk is the best one that you can use on balance.
Right.
Personally, that's my favourite. It has the closest texture to cow's milk because it's, you know, it can be creamy. You can get it, you know, full fat, semi-skim, you know, all of that. It's all the same. It tastes as milk. I haven't had milk now for about a year.
Okay.
But, you know, to me, as much as I can remember, it doesn't taste too different. I know my dad still has cow's milk when he's out, and then he has oat milk at home, and he can't really find a difference. So for me, you know, that tells me that actually if you make a small change just to oat milk, then you won't really see much of a change elsewhere. And there are obviously some that are better than others, some that are nicer than others. It's just finding which one works for you. We have our favourites, you know, it's just finding what you like. But again, like that is something so small, but it will make such a big difference.
Yeah, well, I've definitely made a note of that oat milk, because I've been thinking I would like to find some alternative milks, because, you know, sometimes you find a recipe and it's like, oh, use a milk alternative. I'm like, okay, which one?
There are so many.
Oh, there really are. But, you know, it's good to have a variety. It's good to have choice, because I've noticed that vegan, vegetarian options tend to be a little bit more limited than
which can be. I mean, the best one, if you're a fan of hot chocolate, this is one I always tell people, is if you have your hot chocolate bit, instead of using cow's milk, if you use hazelnut milk.
Okay.
And that is lovely.
Ooh.
That is really nice.
Definitely,
you know,
so keep in mind. Ooh.
I recommend that.
So one of the changes you've made, as you've said, is to go vegan.
Yes.
But do you have any tips for anyone who's thinking of going vegan, vegetarian? How do you start?
It seems quite daunting. We initially were vegetarian. Half of my family is vegetarian, the other half is vegan. It doesn't seem too daunting for me personally, because I was vegetarian for quite a while, and I've been doing all this research and I've been finding all this stuff out. So for me, it was relatively easy, and I appreciate that I've probably had the easy run on this. I think if you do want to do it and you're just starting out and it does scare you, I think finding actual alternatives to meat first is the best way through it. So if you still like your mince, go for, you know, soya mince or something that's already there for you to eat, something that you don't have to really think about. So instead of picking up one packet of beef mince, you pick up soya mince instead. So for you personally, you don't actually see any change. Once you've done that, it becomes a lot easier then to decide, okay, well, I don't really want the soy mince because that comes in a plastic bag. I'd rather make my own, and I'll just split up mushrooms and cook those instead. And then it has the same texture, you know, it's all the same. There are so many recipes out there now, and I do find actually that when you have a vegan meal, if you're out, or even just when you have it at home, really, there are so much more herbs and spices that you put into stuff, because you're not relying on the taste of the meat per se anymore. You know, you have to actually be creative with what you're cooking, and everything is so much more flavour. I personally think it's so much nicer, but obviously that is again personal preference. But it's just it really opens, if you love cooking, it completely opens your eyes to cooking. And like, I do so much baking, and now I can't stop baking. I'm baking every other day. People love coming to my house. I always have cakes and biscuits out everywhere. But it's just finding, once you've found what works for you, which for us probably took, we were doing it as a family, so it took probably about a month. But we found now, like, you know, what dairy-free butter we use, the milk that we like, kind of, you know, all of that stuff. Because when you find the hidden additives that are from an animal, you know, or, you know, you find that in some chocolate powder, you know, there's dried milk in it. And once you've gone through that period of, oh, I don't trust anything, I need to look at all the labels. Once you've found the brands that you like and you found what you want, it's fine. You just get kind of the same staples, and then, you know, you see something else, and you go, oh, look, you know, I quite like that, and you get that, and then you've got your staples. It's a lot easier it's just that maybe month transition period, which can be quite daunting. But even if you just have a meat-free day once a week, twice a week, something as small as that, and then you start to get into it, and it can start like that. You don't have to go full on into, okay, I'm vegan today. It doesn't have to be quite that simple. It can be a lot easier than just waking up one morning and deciding, right, today's the day.
Yeah, not so much as of tomorrow, I am super vegan.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. Some people, that's the people that just say they woke up one morning and I woke up, I'm vegan. I'll be like, oh, wow. I was like, how you do that with,
Not sure I could do that.
No, for me, it was definitely, I think I was like vegetarian for a year and a half before I decided to go fully vegan. I say I was vegetarian. I only really had like chicken. That's kind of all I ate meat wise. But even that, and it was still a leap because you've got, it's all the other stuff. It's got egg and stuff, the cheese and things, and cheese is what my family has struggled with the most, trying to find. I will say there are some awful vegan cheeses. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, they tend to seem a little bit sort of plasticky.
Yeah, it's hard to find. We're still looking for a cheese that we like, that is one that we happily will just like eat on a cracker. Yeah. Cooking with them, it's fine. But one that you can just put on a cracker and you can eat, we're still trying to find one that we can do that with. We're struggling. It's hard.
It's a process.
It is a process.
Yeah.
But with some things easier than others. Milk is milk.
Yes.
That's easy. That's fine. But cheese obviously there are other things with it. But there are some changes that are so easy and you can just ease yourself into it. It is difficult, but it's not as difficult as you may think it is, because it doesn't have to be you wake up one morning, that's it. Yeah. It can be a gradual process. There's no right or wrong. There's no rule book. It's whatever works for you. Even if you don't want to be fully vegan, but you want to stop drinking milk, that's fine. That's going to make an impact. It's up to you. It's whatever you feel comfortable doing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we will talk a little bit more about this in just a minute. I'm going to see if anything wants to play. And it does. Oh, this is the Living Daylights with Aha. That was Aha with The Living Daylights. I haven't heard that one before. Good time to hear it for the first time when you're playing it on the radio. You're listening to Emily Bennett. I'm with you until 5 o'clock, and I'm joined today by Charlie from CAE Lifestyle. Hello.
Hello.
So we've been talking for almost an hour now.
Blimey.
Does it feel like almost an hour?
It does not feel like almost an hour. God,
No.
I can ramble on, can't I?
That's what we like. Someone who's actually passionate about what they're doing, and you can just keep talking about it.
I can talk for days about all of this.
I love that in a guest though. So,
okay.
Charlie, what are your plans for the business CAE Lifestyle? Ultimately,
I hope to educate people. Not, educating that can sound very, that's boring. Why would you do that? More just if I want to have the information about everything saving the world, to be readily available to people. So, you don't have to do what I'm doing and going through loads of reports and news stories trying to find the truth. I want to go through, hopefully, find the truth, put it all in one place so that whenever someone wants to find out anything, I hope that it will all be in one place, kind of, on my website, on my blog, so people can go on there and they can just look at anything and they don't have to go through the months of endless research and look through all the lies, and it's all there. And I do infographics at the moment. I feel very into infographics.
Ooh, I love a good infographic.
I'm very into those at the moment. Kind of, I find I'm also a very visual person. I love to write, but I'm also very visual. So I like to have alongside, I've just done a very large blog on the carbon cycle, but the natural carbon cycle. So not the human one, not what we're doing. And it's very interesting, but it's quite confusing, and I did A-level geography and I still get baffled by it. So I did an infographic with that, so when you can visualize something as you're reading it, and I want that could maybe appeal to younger people, because I do believe that the younger generations are the key.
Yes.
to making a change. And I think that if we can appeal to everyone, to the younger generation, then, you know, hopefully that will make a change. But that's kind of what I aim to do. Basically just educate people, have it all in one place, so that if you want to find it out, obviously again, you don't have to, but if you are interested and you want to learn about it, you know, it's all there. And kind of my experiences, what I'm struggling with, because I do make mistakes, you know, just things, you know, everything all in the same place. So that's what I'd like to do.
Yeah, well, I completely, like, I really appreciate the stuff that you're doing to sort of educate people, because one of the things that I have found is that unless you have done an actual course in it, like unless it's something you chose to do at school or something you've then gone on to study later on in life, you don't find out about this stuff because no one else is going to tell you. It
seems almost quite wrongly, I believe, it seems like a privilege to know about all of this and to know what you're, you know, how you personally are affecting the environment in a negative way. And I don't think that shouldn't be a privilege. Why should that be a privilege? Everyone should have the opportunity to know what they're doing, and that's kind of what I want to help people to have, because it shouldn't be a privilege. We shouldn't be punished, you know, for trying to make a change. We should know what we're doing, and we should be able to, everyone should have the equal opportunities to learn and to that's what I want to do. Yeah, the information needs to be there for everyone, not just the people who go to look for it, and not hidden. It needs to be at the forefront, easy to find. Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one. So if things didn't work out and, you know, you had to go on and do something else, which God forbid, but if you did, what else would you be doing? I would love to do, it's, you know, it's still in keeping with this, but I would love to do conservation, whether that's the animals or, you know, the environment. I would like to be, I just love, you know, the world. I just love nature, the environment, and I like that. Even though I'm just one small person, because I am also physically small, which I get told all the time. You know, I like that even though I am just one small person, I actually do carry a lot of weight, and my opinion matters. What I want to do matters. And I like that I can do things to make a change. So even, you know, something as simple as working in a nature reserve, or, you know, being part of a conservation project, you know, just something that's, I'd love to do that. Something, again, something just simple, but, you know, it can make a big change. That I'd love to do something like that. Even if this does work out, maybe I can do both. I don't know, but that's definitely what I think I'd do if this didn't work out. Yeah. Finally, what sort of an impact do you hope to have through the business CAE Lifestyle? Ultimately, I'd like everyone to, in a perfect world, I'd love everyone to kind of, you know, read something I've written or something that I've said and kind of wake up and go, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then someone to make a change. I'd love to be the reason why someone decided to make a change the way they're living, to have, you know, whether that's for their health or it's for the earth. I'd love to be able to help people and to be the reason why someone, you know, that they help others or they can make a positive impact. I'd love to be the reason. I'd love to help people to do that, and that's ultimately what I'd love to do. Yeah, you want to be inspiring the change that people make. Yes. So in line with that, you and I have sort of collaborated a little bit on the task for this week's Something to Brighten Your Day. Yes. So we floated around a few different ideas, and there was going meat free for a day, or I can't remember what the other ones were. But the one that I eventually settled on was to try buying plastic-free fruit and veg for a week. Now, sometimes this is easier said than done. I personally don't really know where I would start. So, do you have any tips for if someone did want to buy plastic-free fruit and veg this week, as I've suggested in this task? Okay. It maybe sounds quite daunting. It's again, kind of along with everything, it's just preparedness. Taking your own bags into any supermarket. Every supermarket now, I mean, if not, then that's not very good. But, you know, every supermarket now should have plastic free, loose fruit and veg. You just take your own bags in, weigh them on the scales. It seems to be pretty straightforward across all of the supermarkets. It all seems to be the same. Just it's something, it's something simple to do. It does make a difference. It can unfortunately be more expensive, but not always. I do know that some shops, there's you can get organic bananas are actually double the price of just normal loose bananas, which for me was, I nearly fell down in the shop. It's just unheard of. But, there are some things kind of creeping their way in, not under the radar, not really being talked about, but that, some things aren't expensive as a whole. Unfortunately, they possibly are, but it's not guaranteed. But, just simple, take your own bags in, put them in the bags, weigh that. It's something simple. It doesn't really take too much time. It's not much longer. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming in today, Charlie.
Thank you.
Just very quickly remind us of where we can find you and how we can purchase your ebook.
So go onto my website, which is caelifestyle.com. There will be a pop-up link, or there's a link in the bottom, which will take you to a website, which will then sell it to you. I am also going to, if you are interested in the book, the first 10 people who, through Meridian, if you want the book, if you email me, the email's on the website and it's all on my social media, it's caelifestyle@gmail.com. I will email you a code, and then you can actually get a free copy of the book, and that's for the first 10 people that would like to buy the book, if you're interested.
Okay. So, first 10 people who want to order the book.
Yes.
You're going to send them a code, and the email address is caelifestyle@gmail.com.
Indeed, yes.
Okay, I will try and promote that later on. If any of my listeners want to purchase this book, first 10 of you might be able to get one for free.
Yes.
Well, it's been lovely having you in, Charlie.
Thank you very much.
I've learned a lot in this hour. So hopefully we'll hear from you again. Update us when anything big's happening.
Hopefully. Thank you very much for talking to me.
That's okay.